I'm sorry if I'm not doing this correctly. I'm new to Reddit and I'm posting because I'm very conflicted and just want honest opinions. This is about my daughter, Genevieve. Jen, 25, female. But I need to explain our family dynamics before getting to the reason behind my making this post. I, male, 54, got married to my wife, Julie, female, 49, 20 years ago when I was 34 and she was 29. She was my co-worker and I had known her for some time. She is honestly a great person and made sure to talk to everyone on the team even though she was facing many battles alone. All of us knew she was married, and she had never told us a lot about her husband or her family life. And we never asked her any questions. I think that I should have, because then I could have saved her at least some more years of torture. The reason I got married might not sit right with a lot of you today, but 2 decades ago, I did exactly what any honorable man would have done. The thing is that Julie had been married before. I will not go into the details of everything, but she had been married quite young, and the marriage was a disaster in no uncertain terms. I still remember the day it all happened. She came into work a little late that day, and I was the first one to meet her. She looked low, and I could tell that she was bruised. She was trying to avoid everyone, but I made sure to talk to her and get her to open up. She finally told me that she had been living in an abusive marriage for a long time. Her husband was a drunk a-hole, and he used to abuse her both physically and financially. I felt horrible for her, and I could feel the rage building up inside me. I asked her why she hadn't left her husband. Let's call him Jeff. She said that she had a daughter to raise, and with just her income, there was no way she could give a good life to her daughter. I told her that she could always go for a divorce and he would have to pay child support at the very least. But she said she didn't even have the money for legal fees. And she broke down crying. Seeing her cry like this broke something inside me. And that was when I decided that I had to get her out of that rut. Over the next few weeks, we charted out her escape plan, and soon thereafter, I proposed to her. I didn't love her when I married her, I admit, and she didn't love me either. We just took the step to make life easier, but it has been by far the best decision of my life. Because now, 20 years later, I can't even think of a life without her. I love my wife more than anything else in the world, and I know she feels the same way for me. Her previous marriage is just a bunch of faded memories for all of us now. And I feel honored to have been the man to make her happy again. The only good thing that came out of her first marriage was Jen. Jen isn't my daughter biologically, but I have raised her as my own, and I regard her as my own kid. I have always felt that way, and I still do. Both Julie and I had decided that we would not tell Jen about the kind of person Jeff was. She was 5 when Julie and I got married, so she knew that I wasn't her dad, but she was a kid at that point in time, so it was easier to bond with her. According to the custody agreement, Jeff would get to keep her on the weekends, but after the first couple of months, that stopped. Jen used to ask for him, and we never knew what to say. Julie had to practically beg Jeff to at least come and meet her once a week. It took us a lot of pleading and cajoling to get him to agree. So Jeff used to come on Saturdays, take Jen out for the evening, and drop her back after dinner. It wasn't much, but at least it was something. However, this was short-lived. By the time Jen had turned 6, even this stopped. The payment stopped. Jeff just went completely no contact. It was much later that we found out that he had gotten a girlfriend, and that was his excuse to stop being a father. It was hard to explain his absence to Jen, but she got used to it in some time. By that time, she and I had bonded, and I had wanted nothing more than to be a good parent to her. I went to every school function of hers. I took her friends out for play dates. It might sound boastful, but I was more hands-on than Julie. And this is something that we both laugh about. And I didn't just do it to make it easier for Julie. I did it because I wanted to be a father to Jen. One day, randomly, she started calling me Dad. That was the happiest day of my life, and I felt that I had achieved everything that I wanted from life. The feeling is still unmatched to this day. Jen was and is my daughter in every sense of the word. I have never seen her as a stepdaughter. I was always under the impression that the feeling was mutual, that she saw me as a father and as a parent and not a step-parent. But now I'm not so sure about that. Julie and I have a decent life, and we gave a good life to Jen as well. It wasn't extravagant by any means, but we also did not want for things. We went out a few times a month as a family. We went on vacations and did all the stuff a normal middle-class family would do. Julie never complained, and neither did Jen. However, things changed when Jen turned 16. It had been 11 years since Jeff and Julie's divorce and 10 since he had last seen her. He reached out to me and said that he wanted to apologize to Jen for being a father, and he wanted to make things right with her. I was worried about this from the start because Jeff was an abusive, unreliable a-hole, and I did not want my daughter around him. But apparently he had gotten his act together. We told him that we were okay with only supervised visits for a while, and then we would see. We took Jen to meet him, and the first meeting went surprisingly well. Jeff was on his best behavior. Jen was surprisingly calm and dealt with the entire situation with a lot of maturity. A little too much maturity for a 16-year-old, if you ask me. But since Jen didn't mind meeting up with Jeff once in a while, we were okay with it too. The issue is that Jeff had made a lot of money by that point. He had invested and traded a lot, so his wealth grew exponentially, and he used to compensate for his decade of absence with gifts and extravagant things that I couldn't afford. It did make me feel bad because I knew I could never give my daughter what Jeff was giving her. But at the end of the day, Jen was happy, and that was what mattered to me. However, we did not realize that somehow all this was influencing Jen poorly. She started showing signs that she preferred her Jeff over me because she valued the materialistic things that she got as gifts more than the everyday life that we shared together. Initially, I let it go because she was a kid, and any kid would love her shiny new toys more than everyday things. What I did not realize, however, was that this was becoming a part of her personality and that this would carry on into adulthood. When she turned 18, she told me that she wanted to be a hairdresser, so I enrolled her in a cosmetology course. She worked really hard, and I was very proud of her. She got her degree and started working very soon. Ever since then, she would try to avoid meeting me. I didn't think it was avoidance at first. I just believed her when she said that she was keeping busy, and I respected that. She was starting out her job, and the first few months can be rough, so I cut her some slack. I missed her. I missed just the two of us hanging out together, but I did not express it to her because I did not want her to feel guilty. She was her own person, and she had every right to live a good life. What else had I worked so hard for? But gradually, it began to dawn on me that she was deliberately creating a distance between us. I tried to reach out a couple of times and even asked her if I had done something wrong, but she never disclosed anything to me. We weren't estranged, but we also weren't very close. I guess that is the part of growing up. You drift away from your parents. It just hurt me a lot because she was our only kid, and this treatment was not just restricted to me. She even distanced herself a little from Julie, but she wasn't as worried about it as I was. We did not push because we didn't want her to have any resentment or complaints towards me. She was my only priority, and I was happy with the way my life was. Our duty to our daughter was much more important to us than the void that we felt. All this while, I didn't know that she was back in touch with Jeff and was choosing to spend time with him rather than come home. I got to know later that all the time that she couldn't come home, she would be hanging out and chilling with her mother. Well, Jen is 25 now, and she got married 2 days ago. In the days leading up to the wedding, a lot of drama happened, and I acted in a way that was very uncharacteristic of me. A few weeks before the wedding is all paid for by Jen and her husband Mark. Jen told me that while I was a very important part of the wedding, she did not want to do the walking down the aisle thing. That hurt me a lot because I had been looking forward to this moment all my life. I had no other children, let alone daughters, so I kind of wanted this. I tried not to react poorly and just asked her why she wanted to remove this from her wedding. And she told me that she felt this was a very patriarchal tradition and she did not believe in it. I told her that I respected her wishes and that I would be there for her in whatever capacity she wanted me to be in. 2 days later, to my absolute horror, I find out that there is, in fact, going to be a walking down the aisle thing, but not with me, but with her biological father. The guy who abused her mom was walking her down the aisle. I wasn't supposed to find out. It was an accidental slip-up by Mark, but the damage was done. I asked Jen if that was true, but she denied it. I kept pestering her, and she finally admitted that yes, she had asked Jeff to walk her down the aisle because he wasn't a middle-class piece of junk like me. I don't think I have ever felt as bad as I did in that moment. The fact that she chose Jeff over me was hurtful, but the reason behind it was something that I think is going to haunt me forever. Mark tried to take the blame on himself because even he realized that she had said a lot. He took me aside and told me that his family was a bunch of prudes and it was only to assimilate with them that Jen had asked Jeff to walk her down the aisle. But I was done. I thanked Mark for taking her side, but I also told him that I would not be attending the wedding at all. He said that would hurt Jen a lot because she does love me, but I said that I could not stand to be disrespected by her any longer. I think Mark understood where I was coming from and didn't ask me to budge or change my mind. I think I downed an entire bottle of whiskey that night. I was miserable and don't remember much of what happened. I obviously told Julie everything, but I told her to give me some space, and I don't know what she did. I blocked Jen from everywhere and told her that there was no relationship between me and her from now on. I don't know if she responded to that, and I don't even have the heart to unblock and check because I feel she doesn't love me at all. And it doesn't matter to her that I'm not a part of her life. That was the last I spoke to her. She got married yesterday. I didn't attend, obviously, but I got a call from her early in the morning and she was hysterical. She called from her friend's phone, which is how I could talk to her. She was sobbing continuously on the call, and it took me a long time to even understand what she was saying. She just kept on saying that her mom had told her that even she wasn't going to attend the wedding, and she had never thought it would end up being this bad. I didn't say anything. She said that she had screwed up and she needed me there to salvage the situation. I asked her what had happened, and she told me that Jeff showed up drunk. And by drunk, I mean sloshed. And he was interacting with Mark's parents. Now, the issue is that Mark's family is very prim and proper, and they do not appreciate any kind of crass behavior. Apparently, that was the reason I was not allowed to walk her down the aisle, because I wasn't sophisticated enough. Anyway, so Jeff came in drunk and caused a huge scene. And it has led to a situation that Mark's parents are saying they will not be attending the wedding. Jen tried to tell me what exactly he had done in between sobs, but I couldn't understand her, and I was, frankly, not very interested. She had hurt me beyond repair, and I had to do this. I had to enforce my boundaries. I could not let her step on me. I had done everything that I could for her. I had lived my entire life trying to make hers better, and she only saw me as something to use and feel disgusted and ashamed about. I cannot take it anymore. When I told her that I would not be helping her, she started screaming into the phone, telling me that if I don't save her this time, I am no father of hers. And I just responded that I thought I was no father of yours anyway, given how you've been treating me. And I disconnected the call. She called me again from the same number 15 minutes later, but I did not respond to her. I was crying. I don't remember the last time I had cried so much. I wanted to be there for my girl so much, but she had taken my heart out of my chest and trampled upon it as if it were nothing, and my self-respect did not allow it anymore. But now I'm feeling that maybe I was too harsh with her. I should have gone. I don't know what has happened. I haven't reached out to anyone, and Jen hasn't reached out to me either. I think maybe I was in the wrong for abandoning her when she needed me. I'm just so confused, and now I don't know what to do and how to set things right. Edit. A lot of people were asking me why I had such beef with Jeff after all these years. Well, if your heart has never been ripped from your chest, spat on, trampled upon, and tossed aside like garbage, you wouldn't know. If you haven't been abused by someone who was meant to keep you safe, you wouldn't know. He is the reason my wife had to endure years and years of abuse. I will hate that guy till the ends of time. I know it has been 10 years now, and that it has been a long time, and maybe he has turned over a new leaf. But guess what? I don't care. It is because of Jeff that Julie had to live a miserable life. And no, I will not be the bigger person and forgive him for it. Never in a million years. Call me petty, call me crazy, or call me a jerk. It doesn't matter. On the day of the wedding, Jeff arrived drunk out of his mind. And before going to meet Jen, he went and greeted Mark's family. Jen did not know that he had arrived and only got to know about the entire situation when the damage had already been done. In a drunken state, Jeff started flirting with Mark's mom in front of Mark's dad. He was getting touchy with her, and I can't even begin to think how awkward it would have been. It was apparently very embarrassing, and he was practically throwing himself at her. At first, everyone tried to ignore it, but then got out of hand real quick. Mark came over to salvage the situation, and he had to physically pull Jeff out of Mark's dad's coat. He was sloshed and literally fell into him. He ended up screaming at the top of his lungs and kept on telling Mark to let him go. He was embarrassed too and kept on apologizing, but a huge scene had been created by then. This was when Jen entered, but this was not all. Stuart, Mark's dad, and Jeff then started fighting, as in Jeff started the fight. He accused Stuart of being a hypocrite and said that if he was allowed to have affairs with other women, he should give his wife the same liberty. Stuart's jaw dropped. He asked him to keep quiet, but he didn't listen, and it ended up being a huge verbal blow between the two of them. From what I heard, and by that I mean what Jeff revealed to the entire wedding party in his drunken stupor, is that Mark's parents don't have the perfect relationship. Stuart keeps cheating on her with multiple women, and she knows all about it, but tries to act nonchalant or ignorant because at this point she cannot afford to break up with him. He has given her a life of comfort and luxury, and she cannot trade that at this point in time, which is why she keeps tolerating his infidelity. Whenever some kind of fight breaks out between them, he placates her by giving her gifts and taking her out on trips. But that's about it. I have no idea where Jeff got this information from and whether it is true or not. But safe to say, it caused a huge scandal and it was a complete disaster. He went on an entire rampage, beating his chest, grabbing his hair and the likes. The situation was so bad, had he not stopped, they would have had to call the police. Stuart and Jeff then started a brawl, and he was so drunk that he fell on a few chairs after just one punch and landed right on top of a guest from Mark's side. All this drama is happening at the wedding venue where almost all the guests have arrived. The entire spectacle was seen by everyone. Mark's parents are embarrassed to the core, and they are on the verge of walking out because they could not deal with this humiliation. They had a lot of friends and family who were attending the wedding, and to see all of this family nonsense was something they just could not fathom. It was at this point that Genevieve called me and asked me to come and rescue her, and I said no. By the time we had spoken to each other and cut the call, Jeff and Mark's parents had left. Mark ran after them and tried to get them to come back, but to no avail. A few of the guests from Mark's side left as well. They're probably going to go no contact with Jen, and to be honest, I don't really blame them. The wedding was an absolute disaster, and Mark is pissed. He hasn't been talking to Genevieve, and she is miserable. He told her that she should be grateful that he went ahead with the wedding after her dad created such a scene and embarrassed everyone, especially his parents. Mark has always looked out for me, and I have a sense that he had never wanted Jeff to be there with her instead of me. But all of this is just speculation on my end. I can never know for sure. She sent me an email detailing everything that happened, apologizing for her behavior. But the apology also came with the blame that I should have come when she called me, and that it was my duty as her father to have been there and taken her side and tried to bring things back to normalcy. I haven't responded to her, and I don't think I will, even though I have a lot to say. But there's no point in saying anything because I know she isn't going to understand my perspective and my feelings, so it is time for me to protect myself. She has hurt me enough. And now I need to take some space for myself. I'm hurt beyond repair. Julie has completely cut off Jen, and she didn't go to the wedding either. Jen sent an email to Julie too, but she hasn't even bothered to read it. And I don't think she will. She has been my rock in all of this. And it's funny because she has lost her child too. I might just end up telling Jen that I need some space and that I will get back in touch with her if I want to. But as of now, this is the most I can do. I don't think I'll be updating anymore because I want this chapter of my life to be over. I want to bang my head against the wall in grief every time I think of what happened to the family and where we went wrong as parents. But I think it is karma that has come to bite her in the on the most important day of her life too. She was worried that Mark's parents would not like us, which is why Jeff was her preferred parent. But at the end of the day, he ended up humiliating her and embarrassing her so much that she can't even look at her in-laws anymore. And it was me that she had to run to help salvage the situation. Update 1. To all those who were hoping for a dramatic update, I'm sorry to disappoint you. No jaw-dropping event has happened. A lot of you were hoping and wishing that Mark would leave Genevieve, but that hasn't happened either. They're still very much together. If there are disagreements between them, I do not know. And I do not wish to. Those are issues that are between a husband and wife and should stay that way. I do not mean to intrude in their lives, and I know I'm not welcome anyway. And even if I were, I don't want to be a part of Jen's life anymore. I have done my duty to the best of my ability, and now I'm taking a step back. I did not respond to her email. I thought I would, but I realized that even an attempt to ask her to give me space and respect my boundaries would be met with blame and criticism from her. So it was literally pointless. In other news, I have joined a bikers club in my town, and we meet once every week for drinks. Julie has picked up a hobby for herself, knitting. Both of us are making a point to go out and enjoy this phase of our lives. I have made a couple of friends there, and it feels good to have people to talk to, all younger than me, so they try to keep me aware of the new things that youngsters do. They all use dating apps, and I'm the father of the group, and I have to give my views on the girls they date. It is quite entertaining. In other news, I am planning to take Julie on a little honeymoon since we never got to have ours. I feel a little nervous, if I'm being honest. I haven't done this ever in my life, but it is also exciting. I have friends, I have a social circle, and I have something to look forward to. And most importantly, I have my wife. I would much rather have my daughter with me and my family back, but I guess we don't always get what we want, and I need to make my peace with that. Update 2. She said yes. Julie and I are finally going to go on our honeymoon. She had tears in her eyes when I told her what I had planned. We're going to be taking a long road trip, an entire month. A full month of both of us on the road, enjoying and having fun. We had saved up money for Jen's kids if she ever chose to have any, but with the way we have been treated, especially me, Julie and I have decided to use that money for ourselves instead. There has been no further attempt from Jen to get back in touch with us. I think that's how it's going to be. And if this is the way it will be, I'd much rather use my hard-earned money to make life better and adventurous for my wife and myself. We spent our entire adulthood slaving away to give a good life and a good start to Jen. We have, in my opinion, done what we could. It still pains me to say that Jen has not seen the sacrifices we have made, and if she has, she hasn't been appreciative of them. We did it of our own will, yes, and now, of our own will, we are choosing to do something for ourselves. Part of me still feels guilty about this decision, but I think I won't regret it in the longer run. We raised our daughter and we tried to do our best. She can do the same with her children, if she chooses to have any, and live her life the way she wants to. She, anyway, has a rich dad to take care of them if and when the need arises, so my services will no longer be required. It hurts, but I am excited for what the future holds for Julie and me. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.